Okay, so we have arrived at our final three stories. Today you are reading William Faulkner, Toni Morrison, and Isabel Allende. I'll tell you briefly about each of these authors if you don't already know about them. William Faulkner is considered the kind of godfather of Southern writing. He was born and lived most of his life in Mississippi. He was he was born towards late 1800s, and his writing career then really took off in the late 1920s, 1930s. He was extremely productive, wrote a whole bunch of novels like The Sound and the Fury and Absalom, Absalom, As I Lay Dying, Go Down Moses, Light in August. A whole bunch of them were all written around this fairly short period of time, and many of them are considered some of the greatest novels really ever written. They're all set in a place, well, most of them are set in a place called Yoknapatawpha County, which is a fictional southern county in Mississippi, and they follow the lives of different families like the Compson family and the Snopes family. The family that you're following in these stories is the Snopes family. They're kind of like a poor working class day laborers. They move from place to place. Some of them are very mean and they do things that are just like weird and spiteful. At the same time, it's got a lot of humor in it, and mostly when I've given the story, people from the South tend to like it and tend to recognize some of the funny, quirky things that Faulkner captures. He manages to bring to life a lot of the things that are unique about the South. So, the next writer, Toni Morrison, she, like Faulkner, is also a Nobel Prize winner. She's an African-American woman. She's still alive now. I believe she's in her late 80s. She's kind of considered one of the, most famous living American authors is Toni Morrison. She wrote a series of novels that deal with, also, in some instances, the South, deal with antebellum South and the aftermath of that, and the legacy of slavery and such. This story that we're reading, the short story, is set in not exactly contemporary to us, but contemporary to when it was written. A few days, sort of 70s-ish that it's taking place, I believe. And it's about two girls who one is black, one is white, but you're never told which one is which. You're never told who's white and who's black. And but the issue of race presses down heavily on their lives and kind of influences everything that they do. And you're given these mixed cues as to who might be white and who might be black, and it forces the reader to examine their own kind of like preconceptions and wonder why you would think one thing and not think another thing, and then at the same time it shows how you shouldn't pay attention to race, but at the same time you can't help paying attention to race. Then it's completely there, so you're not seeing it, but it's also there even though it's hidden. So it's kind of it challenges the reader and it forces the reader to be involved in the reading of the story. So pay attention to it. It's really brilliantly written, like very finely crafted. The details of how she pulls this off is quite extraordinary. And then the last one, Isabel Allende. Also, she is a Latin American writer. She's also still alive. A huge bestseller. She was part of what is sometimes called the Latin American boom, where a whole bunch of writers, after the writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote 100 Years of Solitude, which became very famous, a whole bunch of writers from Latin America became very popular, and Isabel Allende was one of them and possibly the most popular. Her story here is a short story, and it's based on an actual event of something that happened. So I won't tell you much more than that, other than it's quite moving and heart-wrenching. It deals with kind of loss and tragedy, repressed memory and pain, and also deals with media and like the presence of media in our lives. So this was not written very recently. in the age of social media, but it's written in the age where mass media and live television was already a part of people's lives, and it's examining the role that the media play in tragic events. So, those are 3 great stories. You're going to love them, and thank you all for taking this course. I hope you had fun.